Happy Sunday. Yes, we are live. I apologize that we are late. I had to get all my beautiful ladies together. I have a special treat for you all. I'm really excited about this edition of the Smart Love Sundays. Now that I think about it, this is the first time that I've had an all female panel. So I'm super excited. We are continuing our discussion on the war on Black love. So we started off with our conversation with the fellas on Thursday, and we bringing the ladies on today. So just to recap, today I have 7 beautiful ladies joining me. We are going to dive in on this topic of the war on Black love. Just to kind of give you all a little bit of information about Smart Love. Smart Love Inc. is a platform where like minded men and women come together to discuss real life relationship topics and really to ultimately learn from each other's experiences. The goal is to help inspire true love in relationships by being transparent and sharing information with each other based on our own experiences. Our goal, my goal, the goal of this platform is really to make real connections and to connect like minded people. We're focusing on teaching the art of love and feminine and masculine roles in nurturing relationships. So, getting into our topic of the war on Black love, I have a quote here from Miss Angela Davis. The breakdown of the Black family is due to our economic system of capitalism, which emphasizes profits over people, and our political system of racism and cronyism. Of course, we're going to dive into what is the war on Black love, but just to give you a little bit of background, the discrimination that the brothers and sisters have faced here in America has negatively impacted the formation and the stability of our Black families. In order to actually strengthen the relationships between the Black men and the women, we need to all show each other more empathy, more support, and be more open. The statistics and the trends related to dating, marriage, and divorce among Black Americans show that Black men and women face distinct challenges that influence our family structure and the ability to find partners. Some of the statistics, I won't go through all of them, but since the 1950s, we have seen a decline of the number of African Americans that are married. We went from 77.6% in the 1950s to here we are today in the 2020s at 31%. Okay, that's over half, cut in half. So in 2009, 70% of Black babies were born to unmarried mothers. So that's showing you that there is definitely an attack or a war or something. There's definitely some intervention that has added to this decline. So that's what we're going to dive into today. Some of the divorce factors, I didn't put all the statistics here, but amongst the Black community, divorce is now more socially accepted. There's separation is 4 times more higher amongst African Americans. We have a higher rate of marital dissolution compared to white couples, but at the same time, we have a lower percentage of actually getting married, but a higher percentage of getting divorced. Something's wrong here. The financial stressors and like unemployment, strains on marriages, the mass incarceration of our brothers, the depopulation agendas that the government has put together to really slow down our population has affected us in an alarming rate, obviously. But today, we're not going to go deep into the history because we did enough of that with the brothers, but we're going to speak from our perspectives as women, Black women who are living through this. We are fighting. We are fighting for love. We're fighting for Black love. We still love our brothers. We want to come together. We want to rebuild the Black family, and so we're going to talk about ways that we're going to do that here today. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and let me remove this and let me bring my sisters on in, okay? In no particular order. Here we go. Here we go. Coming to the stage, we have Skittles, the nurse. Hello, dear.
Hi, LaDonna. Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Thank you for
super
being
elated to be
here.
here and give my
Yes.
little 2 cents. Now, I am going to do a disclaimer. I'm tripolar, so I got a lot of opinions.
Oh, tripolar. That's the first I've heard of that one. Okay, sis. All right. Duchess.
Hello, my Bay Area Bay. How are you?
Amazing. It's so
Oh,
great.
wonderful. Skittles, nice to see your face.
Hi, pretty Duchess.
How are
Hello.
you?
Doing amazing. Glad to be here.
Ditto.
Oh, sorry. Sister Fatima.
Yes.
Hey, sis.
Welcome.
Okay, my mic was muted. I'm saying all kind of stuff. Hi, everyone. Greetings. Greetings. Good to see you.
Greetings. Welcome.
Hello.
Hey everybody, hey LaDonna, how are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Hello. Hello,
Hi,
Amy.
Wendy.
Hey ladies.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey,
Okay.
Heather.
Hi.
Excellent. Hey, hey, the Duchess. Hey, everyone.
Hello.
I'm
Heather
excited to
Boo.
be here.
Hey, Heather Booth. Yes. Welcome.
Heather.
Sherelle. Welcome, sis.
Hi, Sherelle.
Hello.
All
Unmute.
Are you on mute too, Sherelle? You did what I did.
yes, you're on.
Yeah.
I wanted to follow behind the beautiful Miss, Duchess. No, Fatima. Fatima. But yes, hello everybody. Thanks for having me on, LaDonna.
Awesome. Good to have you. All right, sister, the queen herself.
Mommy,
Ruth, turn your phone.
Turn.
turn your phone. Turn your phone, Mom. There you
Yes.
go.
There we
Yes.
go.
There you go.
Period.
Welcome, Sister Ruth.
Thank you.
Hi, Sister Ruth.
Greetings. I feel honored to be amongst these beautiful sisters, and I I just feel honored and blessed to participate in this dialogue with all my beautiful sisters. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Sister LaDonna.
You're welcome. I'm really honored to have you here. Ladies, Sister Ruth is about to celebrate 34 years of marriage. Okay. That's a lot
Congratulations.
Period.
of gold right there. So I'm really excited to have her here. Actually, her and her husband, Brother Stanley, used to, they do couples counseling,
Mhm.
and they used to counsel my husband and I at the time, and whew, that was the reason why I stayed in there a couple more years because they helped. They helped. Allah, God, like yeah, but it was definitely the hands of God that like brought us together. They have a beautiful family, and I'm just so excited to have you here, and you too, Sister Fatima.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to jump right in. So I kind of went over just, some of the statistics of what's going on with our marriage rates, divorce rates, but really all of those numbers mean nothing, right? If we as Black women, like I really want to talk about our actual experiences, right? Because the numbers are the numbers, but we're living this, right? Especially those of us that are single, and pretty much all of us other than Sister Ruth and Sister Fatima are single. So
Married. We're in the process of becoming married.
say that again.
You said single.
Single, yes. in the what you said in the process of becoming married. Okay, we're manifesting that. Yes, we're in the process of becoming married.
Wishing there the flow of.
Yes, yes. So just I don't know if any of you had a chance to watch the show that we did on Thursdays with the fellas, but oh, you were on this, Wendy. I saw you. Yeah. So we talked a lot about the history, like what happened to us, um, from slavery to discrimination to segregation to laws presently here today that is affecting us, which is causing this war on Black love.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk I'm going to talk through some of the points that were brought up as we go, but really I kind of want to go around to start us off kind of the same way I started the brothers off, with each of you kind of giving me an idea of what this war on Black love means to you. Like, how is that showing up in your life today, presently, when it comes to dating? Like, what are you seeing out here in the dating world? How is it showing up, in previous relationships, marriages? Like, what is Black love being attacked mean to you? So I'm gonna start with you, Miss Skittles, because you're right here to my right.
Well, being that I have been married once, 12 years of slavery, as I call it, it was a job. It was a lot, right? I did all the, being a good wife, being a submissive wife, being a Christian wife, being a little ratchet too. I was. And then I've also been engaged. So I think that is a narrative that they're putting on us. First of all, I believe that they're trying to really continue to hurt and continue the narrative of a slave mentality for us Black people, Black and brown, and I think it's just really sad. And so then we as a people take it on to ourselves and continue the narrative. So it can show up, but I believe I'm like a really positive person. I always want to see the glass half full. So I believe there's still love out there. I believe that I do have some reservations about getting married again, but I believe that it's still love out there, still good people that really want that. And we just got to be the ones to educate, put it out there, say what we want, be vocal, be communicative, be vulnerable. And then I think you'll find your person.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well said. Thank you, sister.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Duchess, how
Hello,
is
hello again. Yes, present.
present? So, same question, how has the quote unquote war on Black love affected you present day when it comes to dating and relationships? Wherever you want to.
So for me, I'm a believer. I am invested. I am going to see this out, as Sister Ruth said, that my husband is there. I'm single on my way to being a wife. I believe that the war, yes, it started then, but yet I feel like the attack is amongst each other. I feel like the brothers are there for us. As Skittle said, I too want my partner. I want to wake up with my partner. I want to build with my partner, nurture with my partner, love, listen, react. I want to be a partner. I want to be involved. And I just feel like that war that was started then. Where do we build from there? I want to show up. I'm looking right here, right now on this panel, and I can't feel that these women that have not been seen by their mates that God has chosen for them, I feel that they're not looking for a toxic relationship. They're looking for that person. And the war, I feel like my Redeemer is my man. When I look at him, I want to see him in a godly way. And I want to be everything that he wants me to be without taking from myself. And I just feel like it's coming.
Yes, yes, it is. I love it. I love
Absolutely.
it.
That's
Well,
optimistic. I like that. It's
yes,
coming.
Come on, Heather. What you got, Sister Heather?
Hey,
Hey.
okay. So, for me, you know how sometimes they'll say you won the war, lost the battle, or you won the battle, lost the war. So for me, I think it's so many layers, specifically in the Black community, that we really got to look at it battle by battle because the
Mm,
war is so big.
mm,
So I think the first attack, the first battle, is really the thirst for power because we are oppressed people.
mm,
So we don't usually get, and I don't mean in the corporate world, because I know like a lot of men say, well, women want to wear the pants, they're in the corporate world, they're making the money. But I mean the battle for power of being respected.
mm,
And I think a lot of times Black men are looking for a space to be respected. But I also think that Black women are looking for a space to be respected. And we both deserve it. But that battle is that the only place we can actually fairly get it is from each other. And then because we can't get it anywhere else, he can't go to corporate America and get it. She can't go to corporate America and get it. And, because of racism or whatever. So now we're meeting up at home, depleted, and our egos are kind of in the way. And now we have conversations that are pulling out a relationship that might do well, but because we're fighting for power, we're missing it. So I think I'm also excited though, because I feel like Black men and Black women have had more conversations. We had all the books. every podcast, every book, every talk show. But now I'm seeing men, they got on trucker caps and whatever, but they're in circles talking about therapy. They're talking about how they feel. They're talking about their pain. They're talking about what they're gone through and what they want from a woman. And with that, when you feel heard, you feel like you have some power. And I think we're getting better at it. But I think that's the battle.
I love it. Thank you, Heather. All right, Miss Wendy.
Hey, first of all, thank you, LaDonna, for having me tonight. So listen, I've been single, I've been married, I've been divorced, I've been on the side, I've been, you name it, I've been that. And so, like, just all the perspective of love, and I still have not counted it out. And being a person that met my first husband at 19 and then coming out on the other end of that in my 40s to try to date, y'all, it's something else out here. And so I say that to say that the dynamics in how people relate to each other and our history is so important. Like, you laid the foundation of all the things that have happened to us that have caused us to have enmity. The Bible talks about the enemy and Eve having enmity with each other. But if we look at the history of us as a people and the things we've been through, it has caused us to be in a place where we have enmity between each other, our men and us as women. And that's what I've seen in my singleness in my 40s. I'm in my 50s. So I'm just here to have the conversation. I wore my t-shirt today because this is what I think the biggest issue is. I have FOBO, the fear of better options. I think that people think that they have all kinds of options on the table. Nobody is willing to commit. Nobody is willing to do the work that it takes to have a viable, meaningful, and long-lasting relationship.
Mm,
And if we want, with all those things we've talked about, the foundation, and we talked about that before, LaDonna, like the history of how we've gotten here is the foundation. And when we know it and we've studied it, it becomes solid. Then you have to build up. And
yeah.
that building up is dealing with your own mindset, with your own issues, your own traumas and problems. And if
Yep.
we will do that, then we can have the relationships that we want. And so I'm excited about what tonight's conversation is going to be. And again, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Eloquently put. All right, Sister Fatima, you disappeared for a second. There she go.
No, I'm
Hey,
right here. My son is in the background. I'm still being a mom, okay?
always. But it never turns off.
Never turns off. Um, can you repeat your questions, LaDonna? I
So,
feel like there was something you said that stuck out to me, but I want you to repeat it for me.
yeah, sure. So, what I asked was when we talk about the war on Black love, how has that shown up to you, like present day, past relationships, current situations? Like, what is that? What exactly is the war for you personally that you've seen?
Um, so the first thing that comes to mind is, let me clarify the definition of the word war.
Mm,
Because I often find that in communication, we do a lot of assuming. We do
mhm,
a lot, and Heather touched on this point, and being married by the grace of God going on 14 years. Um, One of the things I've learned is that it is a battle of the gods.
mm,
What I mean by that is, in our respective roles in nature, uh, the woman is a god and the man is a god, but we have different functions, right? But there is a power struggle that has occurred.
yep.
And that's something that Heather spoke on. But I think intellectually, in a lot of ways, what we're doing in our arguments is trying to figure out who is more superior in that conversation. And a lot of times that depends on who's right.
Mm,
What we do a lot of times is, words are very powerful. They have meaning, and we belittle them so much. We give our own definition. We attach our feelings and our trauma to words and their meaning, and we redefine them. And we say, well, to me, this word means, and it's like, well, by that logic or that theory, you'll never get along with anybody except people that please you,
mm,
except people who are easygoing, in that way. And not to say that there's anything wrong with associating yourself with people that are easy to get along with, but where's the challenge, right? Anything of value has a difficulty factor associated with it. And I find that it's interesting to me that we as women, and we as, even, you know, uh, corporate women, career women, or even men, the black men, entrepreneur men, a man will say, let's take it slow in a relationship, but then don't want to take his entrepreneurship slow. You know what I mean? Oh, we got to get this done, and we're on deadlines, and we're on, but then you want to take the relationship slow. Like, make it make sense. So again, here's where this definition, right, that you rebranded and redefined, um, you're able to manipulate that word, right? Because in this context, it means something, right? It means something we all can agree on, right? It means something. This word, you can use to get the attention of banks and whoever you need the attention of. But then this word in relationships means something completely different. That's based on your trauma, and you need to. So there, for me, what I have learned is that my husband and I used to do this. This word meant this to me, and it meant something else to him. And we finally got to a point and said, look, if we want to harmonize, we have to be able to bear witness to the bottom line.
mm.
And that is the truth. So whoever's opinion is closest to the truth, then that's what we're going with. If your opinion is further away from the truth, then you're further away from the truth. Your opinion has to grow and evolve, right, in that space. So what we started doing was clearing words, because that's where the misunderstanding comes in at. So that's why I said, can you repeat the question? Because I don't want to sit here and assume that I know the context of the word.
Yeah.
without redefining it and making it clear for us to all agree on, you know? So I was like, okay, let's start with what is a war? Um, a state, and this is one of the definitions, but I think this is the one that is applicable, but we can decide. A state of competition, conflict, or hostility between different people or groups. She was at war with her parents. That's the context. Another definition is a sustained effort to deal with or end a particular unpleasant or undesirable situation or condition. I also think applies, right? Because it's a sustained effort. I think this is what this podcast, this conversation is about, right? It's a sustained effort to deal with or end a particular unpleasant or undesirable situation or condition. So you see how war now, based on the definition, has it's a double entendre. In one context, it means a state of competition, conflict, hostility. And then in another context, it means that hey, we're ending something that's undesirable, unpleasant, we don't like, right? So I think on one instance there's a war on Black love to destroy the Black family, and I think family in general, right? And on another end, a war has ensued, right, to destabilize that attack, right, undermine that attack, and regain Black family and Black.
Yes.
So on those two different fronts, I feel like the attack against Black love or the war on Black love in that context comes from destabilizing the Black man as leadership. That was the first move. And then so many after that, as Heather mentioned. Now to restabilize, I think is going to take the woman. Oddly enough, why? Because the woman is the first teacher, she's the first nurse, she's the first everything, right? She's the God, she's the first God. Before you know God, you know your mom, right? So I think that restoring the Black woman to her rightful place in nature and everything that follows is the beginning of destabilizing that attack, undermining that attack, and regaining control.
I love it. Well put, sister. I love how you broke that down. You are definitely your father's daughter. I tell you. Yes, yeah, you're absolutely right on all fronts. I'm gonna get to Sherelle and Sister Ruth, and then I have a follow up to a couple things that you said, Sister Fatima, and really to all of you. So this is good. We getting into it.
Juicy.
All right, Sherelle, the war on Black love. What is that?
I feel like there's layers to it, of course, same as many of you. But I want Sister Fatima to say the last thing she just said about women in being restored. Can you use your words on that?
I think I remember. I'm a little long-winded, Sherelle, so sometimes I forget what I say.
Okay, so you said something about women being restored back into their place in nature, and so that's basically what I've experienced. My experience has been one thing that Heather said, which was a battle for power, and I feel like at times if we're going to be restored back into our normal place, then something in society has to happen because the roles are reversed. And a lot of times the roles are reversed because economic issues. You're taking care of everything, or he doesn't make as much as you. So now you're being the person who is doing the most, and it's hard for you to submit in those situations because you're the leader. You're put in a leadership position. And so I think a lot of times that we have that as an issue, because regardless of whether you're being put in a leadership position or not, that male does not want you in a leadership position. But it's kind of hard when you are the leader. You're literally taking care of everything. The roles have been reversed. So I think that's one of the layers that we have to face. Another one is the fear of being the fear of, what is it, options?
Better options.
Better options.
Better options. Being a single female, I run into that a lot. I have a lot of male friends, and a lot of times they won't commit is because they said it's too many women out here. They don't have they don't know what. I've even dated a guy who said the same thing. He was like, how do you know if you made the right decision? Because here comes so and so, and they look, and mostly, men, it's mostly looks. And I heard it, I see it, I experienced it myself. And I just feel like a lot of times, like, we want to go back to a place in history where the man was the higher role. What do you want to call it? I don't know. I want to say higher role, but he was the leader.
Right.
He was the leader. But a lot of times these people have not seen that. They have not seen that in their households. So it's going to be hard for the woman, if you're his woman, to teach him.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to want to hear that. A lot of times these guys have issues with their mother being the primary person. How do you deal with that? Another layer is you got to take the pieces off the puzzle that don't fit. Some of these guys don't want to be in relationships, and we have to identify that. So this doesn't apply to them. You have to identify what they say out their mouth versus what they're actually doing. Some of them just don't fit. And you have to be able to remove that instead of trying to hold somebody accountable for something that they're not even fit to be in the role anyway. Absolutely. So I think a lot of it is us, because and them. You know what I'm saying? There's different layers, but us, we have to be accountable for us first.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. Well put, Sherelle. Well put.
I was about to say, well said.
Well said. And before I go to you, Sister Ruth, because I'm just waiting on you to just give us some wisdom, I'll just kind of explain how I feel about why I even wanted to have this discussion and why I feel that there is a war on Black love. Me personally, dating after divorce, I think a few of us, we were talking about this backstage. It's really hard, right? Because the things have changed. We understand what has gotten us here, and we understand that, like, this is not where we want to be. The hardest part for me when it comes to this war is just like, it feels like our brothers are against us. Our sisters are against us.
Yeah.
Like the politicians, the world. Like, as a Black woman, I often feel like we literally have the world fighting against us in so many ways. And I just feel like, and because I love my brothers, I love Black men exclusively. And it just breaks my heart at times that they are not stepping up for us. That's how I feel in my personal life. Now, I grew up with a father who was a protector, a provider. Like he instilled so much in love to me that I never questioned that. Right. And I remember when my father passed, my uncle said that he was like, your father taught me how to be a man. He taught me that a man is supposed to keep a roof over your family's head, keep the lights on, and keep food in a refrigerator. Simple, right? And I find it just crazy that we keep having to have like battles about, should a man be the provider? Well, the women, you were working too. Why do we need to provide? And and you just like arguments over whether or not we feel protected. It's just like so much like discourse within ourselves, within the Black family, that we are not coming together. So that is what I really feel like this war, like, it started outside and it's like they threw the bomb, and then they like, let's see what happened, and it's
Girl,
just
let me start taking my notes. I need to write some things
Okay.
down.
Yes.
so it's just yeah. So Sister Ruth. So one thing I want to say is that I feel that the nation is a great example of how to rebuild the Black family, but I know, there's struggles. Everyone's in marriages, relationships, there's going to always be struggles. So I definitely want to hear from you what you feel about this war on Black love. And then want you to give us a little wisdom, and then we're going to go to the next question. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. It's so, I mean, I learned so much just listening to everyone. And, I feel, because I've been, as a young girl, I grew up a Christian. Then in my teenage years, I became a Muslim. And so I know, both ways. And that's the beauty about, how I was raised because I can, relate to both ways. And one thing that comes to my mind and listening to you all is the scriptures. And as a young girl, I would have to read the Bible from cover to cover. And in the scriptures, and now that I'm a Muslim, I read the Holy Quran. Like we actually during the month of Ramadan, and for the month of Ramadan is 30 days, and we read the Holy Quran in its entirety for the
Sister
month.
Ruth, I'm
Yes.
sorry. They're saying they can't hear you. Can you come a little closer to the
I
phone?
think her mic is covered at the bottom.
Oh, your mic is covered.
Okay.
Better. Okay. Can you say something? Let's see if we hear you better.
Froze. She froze. Mom.
Oh, oh,
Mom.
can you hear us?
She's
Let me,
frozen. You can see her on
okay.
the screen.
Let me try to take her off and put her back. Let's see if that fixes it. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear.
We hear you. Just don't see you yet.
Oh,
Okay.
y'all hear me now?
Yes, we do. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Great.
So I don't know if y'all heard me about me being as a young girl having to read the Bible from cover to cover, and so in when I read the Bible, in the Bible it talked about Pharaoh. It talked about these kings that were wicked, and their job was to kill the male and spare the female. Like all in the scriptures, you will see these kings. They try to kill Jesus as a baby. They try to kill Moses as a baby. So this is in the scriptures. This is in the Bible that we read where they talk about kill all male children, all male boys, and that sometimes they would give an age, 5 and under, 2 and under. So they would say this, right? In the scriptures, kill the male and spare the female. So now I'm a Muslim and I'm reading the Holy Quran, and guess what the Holy Quran says? The
Say,
same thing. Kill the male, spare the female. So this is something that has already been written by God Himself that would happen. That the enemy, because see, one thing the enemy knows that when you have black love, that's the greatest love you can have
Power.
in the universe. You hear me? When you have a black woman and a black man love each other,
mm-hmm.
I mean
Oh,
it's a transforming type of love. So the
absolutely.
enemy has to do everything they can to stop that love from becoming a reality. And so that's what we're warring. It's all in the scriptures. And I know most, most of you, grew up in the church, probably go to the church. I heard some of you. And you hear where it's talking about we're fighting, we're warring against
Mhm.
principalities in
High
high
place.
places.
Yes.
That's
That's
right.
government. You understand what I'm saying? It's government against the black man. That's why they giving the black woman jobs because they know that by nature. See, in the Bible, it began in Genesis. God first created man. And once he created man, he gave man dominions over his creation. Then he said, God said, it is not good for man to be alone. This is what
Mm.
God said. So then he said, I'm going to create woman. And so he created the woman to be a helpmeet to the man. So by nature, the man is the provider. That's his nature. That's what he's
The leader.
supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be the protector. He's supposed to be, and not just physically, because it's easy to buy groceries, it's easy to pay rent, light bill, but mental, keeping that woman mentally taken care
Mhm.
of, spiritually taken care of. You know, that is his job as according to God. Because, the thing is that we believe in a God. We believe God created. We believe in his creation. So who knows best what is best for us but the creator? And so the problem is, I believe, Sister LaDonna, is that our relationship with our creator is not where it should be. And
Mm.
that's for male and female. Because if men had their relationship with their Lord, the Creator, they would know their jobs. No woman would have to tell him that he is by nature the provider, the protector.
Mhm.
You understand what I'm saying? His nature is to
Facts.
rule. And the same thing with the woman. You know,
Yes.
God created us to be a comfort to the man, to be a helpmeet to the man. And the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said to us, he said, a woman can't help a man do nothing. That man got to have a vision for that woman to be a helpmeet to him. You
Mm,
know, so it's definitely, a battle dealing with our relationship with God, our
yes, it
relationship
is.
with our
Well
creator.
Mhm.
said.
That's,
Yes, it is.
how I see it. So I would,
I
Yes.
see it
you
like
know,
that too.
pause and allow
Mhm.
y'all to go ahead. Thank you so
Me
much for
too.
letting me share.
No.
I loved it. Yes, that I love that. Um, I want to say that I felt like when I took some time, like, after my divorce and started like getting closer to God, I got baptized again, started focusing on healing myself, things based on like my past relationship, my things that I dealt with, like stuff that I didn't even know I had issues with, like traumatic things that happened in my childhood that I never dealt with. And it was like it took me taking a step away, not just trying to replace my husband with another man, like actually focusing on building that self-love. And Brother Stanley touched on that a little bit yesterday, about, in order for us to even begin to show, someone else love and grace, that we have to start with ourselves.
Mhm.
So, what I want to ask each of you ladies, what have you done after, a past breakup, something traumatic in your life, anything that could be contributing to where you are today? Have you have you done anything for yourself to help focus on your healing? And if you have, what have you done?
Mhm.
So if anyone can go first, is like ready to go, like, or because it might take a second for you to think about it. Sherelle.
Anybody ready?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So listen, so we're talking about the history and the foundation of what has happened in the Black community, which all is truth, right? All of those things that all the things that Sister Ruth and everyone that we've all said are true. And so the point that I want to bring into the point is that, so when we talked about that that God created the man to be a provider, a protector, and that the woman needs to feel safe. And I'm not going to say but. I don't like saying but. I'm going to say and as add to. What came with that was in time, from ancient times, if the man was not only the provider, but they were the final say in a situation. Like sometimes even women they didn't even have a say so in who they married.
Mhm.
They were betrothed to someone, or they were given to someone. And a lot of that was always, because we brought that up about attributing it to money, right?
Mhm.
How many times have you ever heard a man say, I am the provider, so what I said goes? But then what happened is we talked about how the man was emasculated and the woman was elevated, right? So then when women became the part where we're the ones paying the bills, so then that happened, that flipped the script. Because if the characteristic of who is the one that says what's happened is because you pay the bills, well, now I'm the one that pays the bills. So then what I say goes. And
Okay.
so then you
Okay.
have this tug of war
Mhm.
happening in the relationship. And so because that was my story. So I
Okay.
was going somewhere with that, right? So
Okay.
that was what was happening with me in my marriage, right? Like I am carrying 7 people.
Oh
And
wow.
so that, and then so 7 people I'm carrying financially. And I'm trying, because I'm an ordained and licensed minister, and I'm trying to be submissive, and I'm trying to be the wife, and I'm trying to do the things, but I'm carrying all
Mm,
of this weight.
yeah.
So the ability, when I just had to let that go, that relationship go, and to deal with that trauma. So how did I deal with that trauma? I went to therapy, LaDonna.
Mm,
Strength.
yeah.
Good job.
Right.
Good
I went to
job.
my God, LaDonna. I
That's
had to
Yeah.
get
right.
on my face. And I'm not gonna let me not paint it as a completely virtuous picture, because I was so angry after the fact. I did some things after the fact that I was like, wow, I'm killing my own witness. I'm killing
Mm,
myself spiritually
okay.
because I was so angry. And then had to, even sit myself down. I spent time out of ministry because
Mm,
I had to sit myself down. So I say all that to say, when we're talking about what is the war on Black love, all of these things play a part. And if we don't acknowledge our part,
yeah.
yes, those things were done to me. Yes, someone sold me the banana in the tailpipe, right? Said
Love
they were
bomb
going to
you.
do all these things, they
I
were going to
love
protect
bomb.
me and take care of me, and did not, and
Mm,
levied all this weight on my shoulders.
mm-hmm.
But when I reacted or retaliated after I got divorced and just out there in the world, I have to take accountability for my own
Yep.
actions.
Yep.
Get the mental, physical, spiritual help that I needed, and heal myself. And
Mm,
that is where we are in this situation of Black love. Yes, all of the things that we're saying are true. Those things happen to us.
mm-hmm.
We need to acknowledge them. We
Yep.
need to understand.
Oh, you froze, Wendy.
Okay,
Amen.
Sherelle
So
had
that
something.
I can move forward and be the best person I can be, so that I am prepared to be the woman that I need to be in a relationship that God has for me.
I
And I land.
love it. Absolutely. And you know what? I'm gonna put a pin in the provider conversation, because we have to come back to that. Right? We can't finish the conversation without coming back to that, with the women, the roles being reversed. But thank you so much for sharing your story and your path to healing, Wendy. And yeah, you had to have a ratchet moment
It
to
was
come
it
back
was
to
it was
God.
really ratchet. sorry, Sister Ruth. I apologize. It was good.
No, no. There's no God but one God.
Yeah.
Right. That's
So
real.
you confess to
So
no one but Him.
Right. Right.
Okay,
so
sure.
I think I was muted before. I
Okay.
muted myself.
Okay.
But I think that a lot of times we just have to take a break. Like some people look at what they say, you don't the way you get over somebody is get over, you know what they say.
Get under
I
'em.
don't think that that's necessarily the best idea. I think that we need to actually try to break free of some of the baggage that we're taking with us.
Yeah.
A lot of times, even if it's not you who was the total the person who had brought all the toxicity, it still fell on you. You know what I'm saying? You still covered in it. So I feel like I have never really jumped into relationships. I gave myself at least a year, sometimes 2 years, depending on how bad that was and how long I was in it. But I try to make sure I'll break myself all the way down. Not not meaning that I'm broken, but I feel like there's something to gain in every situation, every relationship that was in, something to learn. So I'll break myself all the way down by one, talking to the people that's closest to me, talking to therapists, bouncing ideas off the piece of people that I trust in my life, that I've placed in my life, that's going to tell me, no, I'm wrong. That's going to tell me, yeah, you need to work on that. And I've come to a place in my life where I am not trying to be perfect. So I feel like when you're not trying to be perfect, you allow yourself, one, to make mistakes, two, to show yourself grace.
Yeah.
And to three, be honest with the next person about who you are and what you want. That way you can know if you're finding the right person.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to come in being Mary Poppins or Martha Stewart and pretending to be this one person that you don't want to always live up to 7 years later. So I feel like mainly that's the thing for me. I break myself down. And like I said, that's not a broken place. I'm not in a broken place when I do that. I'm looking at being a better person, dissecting what I did wrong or how I was triggered, or, just to learn myself so that way in the next situation I can be honest about who I am and where I am.
Yeah. That's
You
awesome.
sound perfect.
I'm not
Where is
far
her
from.
husband? Where is her husband? Okay. Anybody else
He
want
coming,
to
girl. He him.
share their feeling?
I know for me personally, when I was in relationships, a marriage, even in the marriage, it got bad enough to where I felt like I was very vocal with it. I was um, transparent, even. Uh, and so, even with the last relationship I was in after the marriage, after the divorce, after just being hard on myself, thinking it was something I did, right? Blaming God to say, why didn't this work when I did everything that I was taught to do as a child to a woman growing up in the church, seeing people who were married, thinking that's the way it was supposed to be, even emulating the examples that I had. And then one thing, when I got an adult, and actually in a marriage, I found out marriage was not that great because of the people who I thought was a great relationship. So what I had to do was just be accountable for myself, even as far as accepting things that I knew I should not have, but thinking I could make it work, maybe even changing somebody. And so what I do now is just definitely love myself first. Make sure I do self-care, make sure I'm in a position to love on somebody else. Because if I'm feeling some kind of way and not good about myself, then my love is not there to reciprocate. And then Abraham Hicks and some burning sessions. I've done a couple of crazy things um to get over the hurt and the pain and the trauma. But I think I'm in a good space now. Not really looking for something, but open.
You don't want to get married again?
I mean,
Ooh,
I'm
ooh.
still working on me. Okay,
Okay, you're not ready yet. It's not off the table.
not ready
Okay.
for that
But let me
yet.
ask this, because she said marriage is not great. Is that what you said?
It wasn't.
It wasn't great. Okay.
No. It
Okay.
kind of like, the first time if somebody didn't tell you it was a good time and it really wasn't, they lied to you. But
Right.
also from things that I've seen, relationships that I thought was really, really good. Like, oh, that was the best relationship that we knew of growing up. That was the best family. They had the great house and the husband and wife. And then you find out they was cheating, or they have a whole nother family on the other side, or it really wasn't like somebody was getting beat up, or lights and gas really wasn't on. People were hungry and starving. So
I started off saying that, and I'm sorry that was your situation, but right now you seem like you're on a path for greatness because you're starting with yourself, and that's something that the men had mentioned, that we as women, we don't take the time and the opportunity to take care of self. I know that Sherelle said that she took a year. You know what I mean? And sometimes if you have been married or you have been in a relationship, you have to look in the mirror. You have to be able to hold yourself accountable. I believe in marriage. I believe in love. I believe in being the wife. I was raised with both my parents. We had a village. I have 11 uncles, and we had marriages. My grandparents had been married. So I've seen, congratulations, Miss Ruth, that 35 years. I've seen those. And I'm a believer of that. And I just feel like when we talk about war, which is what I said, and I think I discussed this with you, LaDonna, to me, war is fighting. And as the sister said, there's two definitions to that. And I said that for me, I want to look at my person as my God. I want to look at and know that I am too just as worthy as he is. But how do we come together to say that we are the prize? How do we come together to say that we are going to work together and not looking so much forth as who's the provider? Because if you know your position and you know your space, and you're in a house of love, you're in a house of commitment, you're living under the roof of, you throw that word submissive around, but if you have the strength and you have the will and the ability and you want to be in this, you're not in it to say who's making this money and who's making that, because you're in it under the same roof. If you're raising 7 girls, 7 boys, you're in it and you're working together. And that's the part that I feel like that's where we fall off at, because we chasing the bag. We're doing this but if you commit to someone, that's work. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. And because generations are different, everybody is not a Sister Ruth. You know what I mean? But she went in this knowing that I'm going into this and I'm giving everything and I'm going to make that work. I'm going to work at it. And when you need to take a year off, why are you not taking that year off under your roof? When you need to take some time, why are you not sitting there and working on this? We all go and have been to Bible study or studied the Quran. We have all been in a position where we studied something.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it? Why are we falling off of this, that we can't, be there with our man, our mate? Is it because God didn't send them to us? Is it because we chose and we chose the wrong one? Because that happens, right, ladies? We choose the wrong one. You know what I mean? But we can't build and have children that are going to be like the sister on here that is on, she's married, she's got her child, she's raising them. We fall back and start blaming, and we got to stop doing that, because you make that commitment, stand up and be there. Because we all like to go buy a little something, right? You go buy some shoes, but you spent a good penny for that shoe. You're not throwing that away. You just spent $1,200 on that shoe. You're gonna go get some taps. You're gonna continue to wear that shoe.
That's right.
Can I ask a question?
Everybody is not studying.
Just a show of hands. Can I ask a question?
Uh-huh.
How many, just a show of hands and then we can continue. How many women in here have had to be the person that financially took care of the house?
My
Yeah.
maid or as a
I
single
would show my feet on the screen, but that would be too much.
There you go.
That's how much financial
over
responsibility.
a maid or just as a single person?
Okay,
Yeah.
and the wait, this is the other part. With someone who you knew wasn't trying. Trying is different.
No,
I will show my
Brand
feet
is
on that.
Terrell, you broke up. What was your question?
With someone who you knew wasn't trying.
I will show my foot on that
She said,
Okay, because that's
Okay,
different. It
yeah,
hit different when they ain't trying.
yeah. So
That's
okay, then
true.
let's talk about this. Let's go ahead and have the provider conversation.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
LaDonna, real quick, because that just touched on something.
Okay. Feel it, sis.
And I, I'm feeling it because I feel like this scarf, this Muhammad may got y'all fooled on here.
Tell us, sis.
A little bit.
Tell us. Got me thinking I'm about to convert.
Sometimes I really be trying to like decide. I'm like, God, maybe I should take my scarf off before I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. But I just have to set the record straight, and I'm gonna speak. I'm going to put myself out there a little bit more, because I think it's important to understand that a lot of times this is the very bad habit that we have. We judge books by its cover all the time. And we like to say it in a bad way. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody look busted, oh, they ain't got no money. But it also could be the same for good. We look at, on the outside looking in and we say, oh, that looks like a great marriage. First of all, it's a marriage.
Oh, you already preaching. Come on.
First of all, it's a marriage. So who are you? Who am I to determine its greatness or not? Right? Because again, what does the scripture say? Judgment is reserved for who? So even on that small, minuscule level, only you and I, and that person in that relationship can really, truthfully, honestly, authentically be able to parse that relationship and whether or not who was bad, who did this, who could have fallen. Telling your story to the world is still your version through your eyes, through your lens, and it does not walk that person down actual facts. What actually happened? Because we go back to what I said earlier, we interpret situations. We don't give it as it was. Well, what they meant was, and we love to interpret what people said, and I think that's kind of the danger when we start to try to tell somebody else's story. So what I started to clean up myself by doing is not telling my husband's story, but telling mine and making it very clear that it's my story, not his story. It's not our story because he's not here representing himself along with me. So I'm not going to misrepresent him or do him a disservice by speaking on his behalf. But with that kind of disclaimer, we've been through some stuff. And my mother would tell you, even her, I grew up in an impoverished household, Muslim or not, thank God for Islam, because in our little home, just the house, the four corners of that home, it was sanctified and it was protected by the ethical principles and values of God's law and his way. But outside that door, my uncle selling drugs, my auntie was a stripper, the whole list. Okay. But how can you look at me and hear me and be able to tell whether or not I went through that? You can't. Right? What does a serial killer look like? What does a rapist look like? You can't tell. So we have to stop by, looking at somebody, kind of judging who they are, what they're not. That's where we have to be open and we have to ask the right questions. And these principles apply not just in our relationship, but you're not finna go buy a house. And even if you got the money, they want to know where you got it from. Every penny has to be accounted for. They ask the questions, whether you like it or not. And if you don't want to answer the questions, you don't have to buy this house. But then when it comes to relationships, we don't apply these principles. We don't apply.
Preacher.
And so then we go back and we say, but, we talk about, but, I was the main breadwinner or this or that. And that happened to me. I dealt with a lot and we'll go more into that. But I dealt with all this stuff. But I have to look back and say, well, did I ask all the right questions?
Right.
Take the people off the board who don't need to be on there.
I mean, because let's be honest, after a certain period of being single, I heard hormones change and it get worse as you get older. You know what I'm saying? So let's be honest. How many of us, really kept the door closed? You know what I'm saying? While we was asking the interrogating questions. No, many of us did not. We liked the man a little bit. He spoke a little bit. He fine-dined us a little bit. And then we, opened the door and then wanted to ask the question. Well, I really like you, so let me ask now. Because now it's time. This is what we do. But then we don't
do it every day. Yeah.
We don't tell the story right. And it kind of, I know for me, I used to do this. And a part of my healing, going back to Sister LaDonna's point, my healing came from telling the truth, regardless to whom or what, even if the truth was against myself. Because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us all good moral behavior starts by telling the truth. Yeah. You're not going to have no good relationship in life, a friendship, a partnership, a business ship, a marriage, any ship without honesty. Yeah. And I'm talking about being brutally honest. And I think it starts with us in this dialogue being brutally honest with ourselves and only for ourselves. We can't speak for that person. We can only speak for ourselves and speak from that perspective. And so I just kind of wanted to share that because that for me, that was a lot of my healing. That accountability was so painful. It was so dark. I've done things that I'm not proud of that I'm never going to tell y'all because it ain't your business. You know what I mean? It's not. You know what I'm saying? Like Wendy said, you gotta take it to God. But those things, they came out of me. They didn't come from him. Yeah. Now I could accuse him and say, "Oh, well, if it wasn't for him, I would have did this." Baby, can't nobody bring out of you what's not in you. So either you a thief or you not. Yep. The right circumstance ain't gonna make you a thief. The right circumstance will only show and prove that you are a thief. Right. But if you're not a thief, it ain't gonna happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if you're not promiscuous, if you're not a cheater, if you're not a whatever, then you're not going to do that. That's not going to be your recourse. But if that is who you are, right? If that is a defect of yours, then the right circumstance will prove it and bring it out. So that's something that I learned. So the things that went wrong or could have, gone better in my marriage, I had to, at a certain point when my marriage started to get better and work in my favor, I had to realize, take two things back. My story, right? And the other thing I had to take back was my accountability and my responsibility to make myself happy. I had to redefine, I had to tell myself, it's not his responsibility. Stop making it his responsibility. My responsibility solely. And when I realized that, the dynamic started to change astronomically. Because if he's pissed off, I don't give a you know what. That's your day. It's not my day. That's your business. That's not mine. Yeah. Right? I had to remember, why am I in this marriage? to get legal sex, to get somebody to go 50-50 on the bills. So nobody is shaming me for having children under wedlock. Let's reevaluate. Why do you want to be married? See,
Now, you preaching now. You are preaching now.
God invented marriage. So if this is God's manual and we are failing in what he promised us, then it's not him, it's us not following through with something that he commanded us to do. So I think that is also another problem. You know what I mean? So healing is all this truth coming out.
Yes, it is.
And accountability, like you touched on it majorly. Self-accountability.
I love it.
I want to piggyback off of that for like
look,
5.
If I need, we gotta talk about it.
We got to.
I mean, we can get into the whole dating stuff. Like I'm like the whole dating in the A. Like, but I so really
okay. Hold on. Heather has something. What you want to say?
I wanted to piggyback off of that just right quick, in regards to healing, but in regards to everything else. Of course, the umbrella is self-accountability. But like you, LaDonna, I was a daddy's girl, and one thing that my father always said to me was this: Heather, a man will do what you require. As I got older and I've had failed relationships, I had to think, man, are they not doing it? They're not doing it. But yes, they are. So the healing I had to come around was, Heather, what are you requiring? Because you're getting what you're requiring.
Wow. Hello.
So if your relationships aren't working, or you're not getting out of it what you think you want, then you have to look at what are you really requiring, because a man will give you what you require. So if you're getting it and you don't like it, you got to ask yourself, are you saying, Lord, I really want a man that, is in the church, he's going to treat me right, but you're requiring something else. You really just want somebody to take you out for dinner, and he's doing that, but he might be sleeping with somebody else. But if you still calling him and he took you out to dinner, okay, he's doing what you require. You don't care if he's really sleeping with somebody else. You don't really care because you're not requiring that.
Somebody said require and allow.
Require equals allow.
My dad is
exactly. And that's what at the end of the day, it's not a requirement if you're not getting it. So whatever you're really getting is what you're really requiring. And that was what my healing was that I had to look at myself and really look at my relationships and say, okay, what is it that I thought I was getting? Is it the fluff? Is it the accountability? Is it the support? Is it the man on my hand? What is it? Because if it's not working, then that means I'm lying to myself, because I'm getting what I require, because I'm calling this Negro every day. He's over here. So I got to be getting what I require, but I'm not being honest about that requirement. So I had to get to that space. And then there's healing in it. And then the second part was I had to ask myself, why don't I want to look at that truth? And I think the answer to that is that nobody can hit me harder than I hit myself mentally. We are our own worst bullies. So we got to build a case up against the other person. Yeah. He did this, he was this, he was that. Because if it's you, then you'll never stop. You'll be in your head all day long, and you want to be like, I done already talked to myself about it, and it's him. Don't look
part of my healing.
It might be me, because I don't want to beat myself up anymore. But don't beat yourself up. Give yourself love and tenderness when you realize these things, because that's where the growth is. So
it sounds like
I just had to piggyback off of that, because I totally agree.
It sounds like from this conversation, the consensus is us.
At the end of the day, life is always about self.
Did you see in the
I think that we are the steward of our own happiness.
Did we just put our hands on
Sherelle, did you see in the comments?
This is what accountability. like, okay?
Like one of the guys
Accountability.
Looks like.
What did you
He
choose?
got all the power.
Take the pieces off the
I'm
board.
not giving my power away. I'm taking my L's and I'm taking my W's. I gotta take them all.
But
I'm
you
taking my L's and my W's. You know
but
what
the
I
thing is, at the end of the day, like what everybody, Miss Fatima, you said the same thing. Are you choosing this person? Are you choosing this person? Are you asking the right question?
Hit me.
Right.
So listen, when I just went that whole diatribe about that relationship where I was carrying all that weight in my bitterness, because there was a point of bitterness where I acted a plumb fool. Story for a whole nother day. When I said to the Lord, I fasted and prayed for 3 years for you to send me a man of God, and you sent me this.
And that's the man of God you got.
Do you know what the Holy Spirit said to me?
I didn't choose him for you.
I didn't send him. You chose him.
You chose him. And there's power in that.
And I had to sit in that.
Yeah.
I had to sit in it. I had to face it. I had to deal with it. Weep, cry, have a temper tantrum, roll in the floor. But the bottom line was, I knew when because the sister just talked about not keeping the man covered.
When God said that, our person,
I'm
we're gonna be sitting over there like Miss Duchess.
So she just talked about keeping the
man
covered. Talked about it.
We're gonna be sitting over there like that.
I knew before I walked down the aisle that this Negro was not ready to be married to me, and I did it anyway. And then tried to blame it on God.
Yeah.
Woo! Talk about the blame it on God.
And then tried to blame it on the Lord.
That's what we do.
And then figuring that out, your next person, you won't make that same, that same mistake.
No, because I had a period of healing, but I had to acknowledge that. How many of us will not acknowledge our part that we play? Like Mark asked the question, what negative attributes are some women adding to fuel the war? What are we doing?
Yeah. Okay. So
I knew. I should have
never into relationships.
I should have never married a Negro. I knew.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Through that. All of us do that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. So we're moving on.
I'm gonna mute myself because I talk too much. Okay. Here we go.
This is a great question. Who haven't we heard from in a minute? Sister Ruth. What negative attributes are some women adding fuel to the war? And how can we fix it?
It's something because a lot of the sisters share, some of the things that we do to, add to the war, like choosing the wrong mate. A few of them, said it that they knew that this person, was not the right one, but for whatever reason, I can change it. And that's the thing as women, right? We think that we can change a man. And I remember when I was young, I used to have, I had a girlfriend and many girlfriends, and they would say, if I put it on this guy, this, real good, he's just gonna do whatever I tell him, and he gonna be fixed, right? This is what they would say. I'm gonna put it on him so good, he ain't gonna never want to leave me. Next thing you know, he done left and went to somebody else. So we have a misinformation or misconception that we think our bodies can keep a man.
Patterns.
You got some of the finest women on the planet ain't got no man.
Right.
Because it's not the body that keeps the man. God didn't say, I'm going to make Eve fine so that you can do what you're supposed to do by her. That's not what God said. So it's that we have it wrong that we think, giving ourselves. And one of the sisters said about being Christ's wife or being the woman of Christ, and that's what we have to, and that's our problem, is that instead of making God our sole, maintainer, provider, when we have these, when we go through these, hard relationships, and saying, look, I done made the first mistake. I done messed up. Let me do it right. And let me make God my husband.
Mm,
Let me focus on making him my man.
mm,
And when we become, that type of woman, then ain't no Satan's man. Satan ain't got no man. Let's put it that way. You ain't no man until you a man of God. So
yeah.
you dealing with boys. So you got some boy, acting like he this and he that, and he can only act. The real truth is gonna come out. And when you see it, you can't ignore it. And that's the
Yeah.
thing that we do as women. We think we can change men. It's
Yeah.
not us that we can only inspire men. We can't change them if they don't want to be changed. But
Right.
we have the power. We are so powerful I mean, the black woman is so powerful, and she doesn't know it. She has the power to make that man right.
Mm-hmm.
If all women said we ain't let no man play with us, and
Yeah.
all women was serious about that, guess what? Them men will get right overnight. Because ain't no woman let
At
opening
least
the
in the next
door,
7 days.
yeah, for them to, mess over. But it's us. Is that we think we can change a man, and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times we think we could do it physically. It don't work like that, you know. And so, we doing all kind of things, and when you look at us out here, we do so much to try to please men instead of pleasing ourselves, instead of
Mm,
making ourselves happy. You know, I'm gonna get a big butt. I know this sister, right? She went and got her buttocks done,
not the
and
BBL.
yes,
What?
and so and she was married, but
Mm-hmm.
guess what? The husband left. He left the big butt and went to a hotel with some other butt. So it's like,
What?
what are you doing it for? You understand what I'm saying? You doing it for what? For
Wow.
someone that really don't love you, or it's not really, you think is the physical, but he's showing you that it's not the physical. It's the mind. Because no one has the mind like Sister Sherelle. Nobody has the mind of Sister Duchess or Sister is Skittles? What you call her?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Skittles.
Sister Skittles.
Skittles.
I mean, they are unique and beautiful the way God created them. No one has their fingerprint. No, I mean, they're unique. So when that woman captures that man's mind, ain't no woman on the planet can take that man from her mind, because ain't no one else like her.
Yeah.
But we doing it the wrong way. We have to build that relationship with our Lord. We have to connect, and we have to make him sufficient for us in all of our needs. And
Mm,
when men see that we are a woman of God, you can't play with this, because I'm not going to allow you to play with me. I don't
right.
give a damn how fine you look, how big muscles you got, how much money you got. I don't give a damn about none of that. If
Right.
you don't treat me like the woman of God, you can keep stepping. I'm
Depth.
good with me and my Lord. I'm fine with that. And that's the mindset that we as women we have to build a relationship with our Lord.
Or, yeah.
Sufficient. He has to be sufficient for us in all of our needs.
Mm-hmm.
And God will bless, like that sister said, she was praying and fasting that God would send her man, but guess what she said? He didn't send it, she chose. So we have to wait. And God, we serve a good God. He's not an unjust God. God is good.
Mm-hmm.
And when you know you serve a good God, he ain't gonna let you down. So when you turn yourself to him, he gonna give you what you deserve.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't choose what you want. You have to be open for what he has for you.
Yep.
But you will not know until you build that relationship with him. And that's the only reason that I've been married to my husband this long. Because my husband will tell you, all my year, I said, God's sufficient for me and all my needs. I don't need you and no other man. You hear me?
Yeah.
And I was serious about that. I believe that with all my heart because I know that Allah, God loves us. He loves the woman. He loves the black woman, and he's just waiting for us to turn ourselves over to him, and that's what helped me in my relationship is when, my husband acted a fool or I acted a fool. Like my daughter said, we went to the truth, the truth of what God said.
Yep.
And we had to submit to that because other than that, it's not gonna work. My opinion ain't gonna work. His opinion ain't gonna work. No, the truth of what God said. We have to humble ourselves, and that's what love. That's how you know you have someone that loves you because they're willing to not obey you, obey me, but they're willing to obey the Lord. They're willing to obey God. That's when you
Amen.
know you got something you can work with. When you ain't got no man that talk about God, he ain't into God. Well, you can't work with that because you need a man that's
Well, yeah.
connected to his creator. That's the only
Amen.
way it's gonna work. So
Yeah.
that's what I have to share, Sister LaDonna, from my experience and my, what I have observed these years of being married. And I love my man.
I
I
know
think,
you do it. He loves me
and
some
you know
Sister
what I'm
Ruth.
saying? I
Gotta
mean,
say
like,
about you.
I can look at that man and he make me chill. He give me chills.
Aw,
But
that's
it's
so
the
sweet.
God in him. It ain't him, you know. It is
Yeah.
the God that I have seen come out of him that I'm
Mm-hmm.
in love with. So that's that's it. I'm finished.
That's that.
Your voice exudes all of that. I feel happiness when you speak.
Yeah,
Your
that's
voice, yes,
Praise God.
definitely exudes that happiness for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? You touched on something that I know has always been a problem for me. Like I I think it could just be like I just have this big heart and I just want to save the world. But I for some reason like to find men that need fixing. Like they have something that, they're missing. They've lost their mother or I don't know, just they have something missing that I can see and I can feel. And I feel like, oh, if I can just, put myself in there and he can see how great I am and I be this great woman, it's going to fix him and make him what I need. Because I just like it's something which is always something about me that attracted me to men like that. And like it took some healing for me to recognize that because I didn't I was just like, I don't know what's wrong with him. I'm doing everything. I'm a good wife. I'm this, I'm that. What's wrong with him? Then I started to be like, well, what's wrong with me? And it was what it was. Like I wasn't letting God choose for me. I was choosing based on where I felt I needed to go and what I needed to be for that person and putting their needs above my own. And doing that like repeatedly in relationships depletes you because I wasn't getting fulfilled because I thought I needed it from that man. But like when I actually took myself out of that and focused on rebuilding my relationship with God, because the relationship actually took me further away from God. Like I was going down a path that was not mine. I was not living my purpose. Like my path and my purpose was way over here, and I got on a path that I didn't even recognize myself. And it took, like I said, taking myself out of that relationship, and like I didn't want to end my marriage. I had residual feelings about that, and didn't want my children to come from a broken home. And I think it was Oprah or Dr. Phil or somebody said, it's better for a child to come from a broken home than to be in a broken home. And that was just turn on the light for me. And I think that, just like I said, like you taking myself out of that, choosing myself and myself healing and focusing on my relationship with God has brought me to where I am today. And that's why I'm still single, because I'm just saying, like the man that is going to be my husband, my Boaz, has to, number one, have that relationship with God. I need to see God in him. I need to see the characteristics of God. Like I need, like my requirement, everything on my requirement list has nothing to do with the physical. It's all about how your love for God and how it shows up and how you treat me. So it's hard for men of today to understand that and to even live up to that. And so it's like I just have to wait on God, because I can't find him. I've been looking. I don't know where he is.
I do got a question, Sister LaDonna. I got a question for you, Sister LaDonna, because you touched on something, and my mother kind of touched on it. And I think that like it's something that needs clarity, right? So you touched on the fact that you basically we're choosing men based on a desire and a need to help. And I think many of us as women can relate to that, right? Like, oh, the stray puppy, can't let it, just die outside, So I think we can all relate to that. But my question to you is, going through that process of coming to the realization that you were doing that,
Mm-hmm.
where do you feel like that desire to seek out those kind of men stemmed from, considering that you had a phenomenal example of a father?
Mm-hmm.
Where did that, kind of thought process come from?
Mm-hmm.
Did you resolve it?
Right. And I think that came from me wanting to create like my idea of a man, instead of him coming to me already whole. It was like I felt like I could, you know what I'm saying? Like I could,
Like Build-A-Bear.
build a bear.
You go and you make it.
Yeah, if I could just, because if I could just do all the things that he needs, I can be the woman that, what I'm saying, I can cook, I can clean, I can, I'm freaking the sheets or whatever you need, raise the children. I felt like I could build that man. And maybe it was because I didn't see him. Like I didn't see the ideal man in my life. Like I didn't see a lot of men like my father who were like, providers. I saw a lot of men who were like, especially where I come from, they like to use women, like the women, were kind of like an asset to them. Like, you have men that won't work or can't work or don't work, and the woman taking up the slack. And like, I never saw like the ideal man that I wanted. So maybe I started to believe that he didn't exist and I needed to like build a bear. I think that's what it was. Like I didn't see it. And to be honest, I still haven't seen it. So, but I'm not building them. So I'll just be.
So I have a question, LaDonna. So if you don't see him, I mean, do you really know what he looks like for you? I mean, because my dad always told me, because my dad, I still have my dad in my life, and he has seen how guys have changed over time with what's going on in the world, and he told me that I would never find him. So I was looking for my dad. He was like, you will never find me. He said, but you need to find somebody that is equally as good to you. So when I stopped looking for my dad, like how he is exactly, because we have to realize people are different, and your person may come with some, because dad is a superhero in your eyes,
right?
So you're not gonna find a superhero. So that's what he meant by saying that. Like, you gotta find somebody who, that you're not looking for someone who's perfect, someone who you think is perfect, someone who's a superhero. The reality is your person is gonna be flawed, because you're flawed. Like, we're all flawed. So it's like, what do you have you even really talked about with yourself what you're looking for and what's gonna work for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that and my father was not perfect. I definitely would not marry a man like that. I don't know. Back in those days, they did whatever. They had families over here, families over. That's absolutely not what I'm looking for. But I think when I'm talking about the example of my father, I was talking more about like the provider side of him. But when I say I haven't seen like the ideal man, especially like when I was, going through the just adolescence and dating and being a kid, all that stuff like that. I didn't know what I was doing, what I was looking for. I didn't even know what a real man like for real looked like. Like I think I was probably out of college when I like experienced a man that like, make you walk on the inside and he walks on the outside and opens doors. Like I didn't experience it that much growing up. So that was like new to me. Like, oh, that's what men's supposed to do. So I think that over time I have started to understand exactly not just what I want, but what I need in a man. And prior to that, I was just picking. It could be based on looks, it could be based on financial reasons, it could be education. It was just all kind of stuff that I was looking at that was not ideal. But I would see these flaws and I'd be like, oh, but he's a good guy. Oh, maybe he just needs this, he just needs molding. And maybe he just, he needs some nurturing. And that's what a woman's supposed to do. We're supposed to be their helpmeet. And I guess I thought that meant like holding him up, not like being his partner at that time.
So I have a question. So I had a conversation the other day, and my statement was this: how many men grew up seeing their mothers being treated with tenderness? And I asked that question because the same amount of men grew up without seeing their mothers being treated with tenderness by a male, the same amount of women. Because a lot of times we'll say like, well, he grew up without a father. Well, there's just as many females that grew up without fathers as, and so there's a dual lesson that's going on there, because now we're adults and we're trying to perpetuate relationships that we're choosing from sitcoms, because we haven't seen our mothers being treated with tenderness as little girls. And so we're guessing. We went from Sleeping Beauty to Snow White to Cinderella, but so did the men.
Yeah.
And so now we have a relationship with each other and we're like, well, you're not. I used to think, for example, when I was younger, I used to think if I did what he wanted, he'll do what I need. And my need was the most basic of things, but what I needed was based off of so many different, it was tainted. And now I ended up being with the guys that I felt like the relationship was good, but I was unhappy. And I learned as I got older, it's because I was getting what I needed a lot of times. I just didn't know it. And I think it's because we're learning on the job. We're learning on the job, and so are they. I mean, it wasn't until after slavery that a man could even claim his family, a Black man. Because if you had children and a wife, they belonged to your master. So I think we're at a learning curve. And I think that might be something that we hadn't considered as to when we're looking for a mate, where is the idea? Like, for example, I always said too, I wanted a man like my dad. And I dated a man like my dad, and I was like, I don't like this. I thought my dad was dope. Like, he was so dope. But
different.
He asked my mama, and she would say he does not make the sunrise. And he had no, he was a provider. He protected me, you know what I'm saying? He didn't have any vices. He was educated, all of the check things, but he was also complicated and stubborn and had a huge ego, which, yeah, in a lot of ways I found a lot of men like my dad. Because, I mean, a man gonna have an ego. But does that mean he's not giving me what I need, though? Right. And where's that list truly coming from? If it's coming from a fairy tale, it's going to be wrong for me and him. Right. And so I'm not sure in our community if we really know, if we have examples of what we're looking for, or if we recognize that we're learning on the job.
But Heather, I think you bring up a great point. So you brought up the point about tenderness. And I think like we've talked a lot about where we've come from and our own personal experiences. I think also we need to keep in mind where society is right now. Because right now in our society, the Black woman it's all about being soft. We've been the strong Black woman for a long time, and we've seen our grandmothers and our mothers be strong Black women, and probably all of us could give our strong Black woman story. But that whole concept of being soft, and like I don't want to be strong in this moment, and that's what you're talking about, women being used in tenderness. And the ghost, you're gonna have to tell us how to pronounce your name because we ain't never got it right. We don't know how it is. Our antithesis. I'm gonna mess it up. He said so. When he talked about, he said so physical or financial security. Got it. In other words, that's what y'all need. Anything else? Yes, we need you to do what Heather said. Treat us with tenderness.
I was gonna touch that too.
Women need to be. We want to feel safe. We want to feel
Black women.
We want to feel like we can close our eyes and everything will be okay. I don't want to carry the weight of the world on my. And I'm gonna tell you something about these millennials and these Gen Zs. They ain't gonna do it.
Okay.
And so if we're talking about the state or the war on Black love, if you're looking for women to carry the weight of the world, Gen X, we might be the end of it. And I'm gonna tell you right now, we tired. We're listening to the younger sisters and we throwing it off too. So Heather, you hit on an amazing point. Like I was joking when we were behind the scenes, Skittles. I don't want to carry the so gentlemen, I'm not saying that's what we need you for, is to carry the trash out. It's just an example. I don't want to.
But actually, Wendy, we do need him to take the trash out.
Yes.
Actually,
I was just looking like,
we do. Because this thing, my queen like hands
I
is not
don't want to take the trash
no
down no more.
trash out.
What
If
do you
that's a
take trash out?
deal breaker, swipe left.
Hello.
So basically, we want Mother Queen Ruth. We want her man, like somebody.
No,
like
we don't. That's her.
And
man.
we want to release it. We want to.
I don't want to be strong.
Yeah, so let's break it. So let's break it down, and I think this is how we're gonna close out.
And talk to us, not at us.
Yes, hello.
Okay, so we each can go around and give a couple things that we're looking for from our men to help us in this war on Black love. Okay, start with you, Skittles.
Oh wow. Okay, so just going off of personal experience, things I've learned, I'm definitely not the same person I was when I got married, when I got divorced, when I was engaged, and when that relationship ended too. I would just say for me right now, I just need vulnerability and real life, like real life, however hard it is, communication, that truthful communication. Tell me the ugly truth instead of a beautiful lie, so I can choose. Because I think, we all say we want this great person, but then people come in, y'all, and they representative is off. So yeah, I'm thinking you're a godly man and you can quote these scriptures and you go to church and they know you and you can show me stuff. And then so just some vulnerability and some accurate, real communication. Then we can start from there.
There you go. Okay, Dutch.
Mix it up. Oh, my turn? Okay.
Yeah.
Show up single.
Ooh.
That part.
Fine single for the people in the back that don't. Because she live upstairs and I live downstairs.
Touchdown.
We waiting on the papers to come through.
That's fair.
Be willing to fall in love. Be ready. Be open to listening. Be the man. Just for me, I want a man. I want a man to show up. I want him to be single. I want him to be able to talk with me. I want simplicity. I don't need a lot of, like, I think the men had said, we as women, we show up, I have 2 degrees and I drive an Aston Martin and I own 3 Airbnb. I don't need to know all of that. I don't need to do this whole interrogation. I don't need that. For me, for my man, my husband, show up single. Let's talk. Let's get to know each other. Let's be honest. And let's be on the same path. And let me be the woman, because I want that leader. I want that man there. I want to be able to, we all different. So your household be different from mine. But I just need him to show up single and not the representative, like Skittles said. As Mark had one of his segments about, have you ever been bombed? What was it? Love bombed. Love bombed. I don't want no bombs over Baghdad, Atlanta. I don't want
all that.
Because for me, I know that I'm willing and ready to receive, and I just need him to be ready, because the journey is real. I know, it might have it took 10 days to get through the Red Sea, but it took 40 years. I might not got 40 in me, but let's get started.
Let's get started. I know that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I will switch it up. Heather.
What am I looking for in my mate?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
I used to say I just wanted a man to be kind, because if you're kind, there's certain things you just won't do. But now I want to say I do still want a man that's kind, but I want a man that's kind to himself, because there are certain things that he will do to make sure that he's okay. So, and if he's healed, then he'll want to be with a healed woman, and that's important to me. So I want a man that's kind to himself, and he'll give me kindness, because you can only give what you give yourself. You're not gonna overdraw. So you beat yourself up, you're gonna beat me up. You know what I mean? You hard on yourself, you're gonna be hard on me. So no, I want a man that's kind. That's what I want, to himself.
Okay. Sherelle.
Okay, so yeah, I am looking for emotional maturity. That's like a thing that I feel like as a leader, if you're gonna be the leader, you're gonna have to lead by example. And being emotionally mature is like top of the list for that. Yeah. If she say, forget your mama, you can't go forget your mama too. Or, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, I mean, we need somebody who is not going to like twist things and manipulate and if things are not going your way, then the second thing for me, communication is gonna play a big part in that. Like communicating and being vulnerable, like someone said, being vulnerable and being able to say what it is that you want, what it is that you need in this moment without feeling like your ego is gonna take a big hit because you're communicating things. So I also want to be seen. I want to be seen. So those are my tops.
I love it. I love it. Wendy?
The question is, what am I looking for in a mate?
Yeah.
So number one, you need to already have your own children because I'm not having any more.
Okay.
And if you feel that this is you, this is what I want you to do.
So number one, come to the table with your own kids, or as the Queen of she came with her own stuff. So come with your own stuff. But no, seriously, I have to feel safe, right? I need to be able to be in a place where I can be my whole self. Being a woman who is a preacher and a minister in the gospel, sometimes I don't need to pretend like I'm not who I am with you so that you feel comfortable. I know how to submit. I know how to follow. I know when to lead, and I know when to love and to be soft. I just want a soft place that I can be in, and I just need a place that I can be with someone. I spend my life outside of my home telling other people what to do. When I come in my home, I would love for somebody to tell me where we're going, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and be able to trust that.
Yes.
That's all. And if you're out there,
sorry.
Oh no, she's not done.
I'm just saying, if you're out there, there it is.
Call
okay. We go. Okay.
LaDonna.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go last because
you are the last.
No, I know I need to hear from Sister Fatima and Sister.
She got a husband.
Oh no, I got this. Okay, so
that's what I was gonna say. I got what I want.
Right. You gonna tell us. Hold on, I got a special assignment for you, Sister Ruth. But Sister Fatima, tell us what you require of your husband, and in case he's listening, so he could take notes. What you want from
him? Let me unmute. So number one, I'm very, especially after 14 years and want to make it a lifetime. I'm very mindful. I strive to be of respecting my husband. So number one, I don't tell him what to do ever. I make suggestions, and a hint to the wise is sufficient. So I try to influence my husband through my example. And so I try to be an example of what it is I want from him, but I also try not to demand from him what's not in his nature to give. So I don't want to be with a woman. So I don't expect a woman from my man. So I think with that, I had to learn, and that's what my mother was talking about, making God sufficient. So, sometimes I think as women, we can demand things, from a man that's just not natural for him to be. A man is not by nature a consoler, a comforter. He's not a sweet talker. Like, he's not these things by nature, right? That's why we only see that person for a short while, right? Because it gets exhausting being fake, right? So I don't encourage my husband to be like that. So I require, very similar to what Heather said, I require him to be kind. What that means is, treat me how you would like to be treated. And it's very simple, so for him that may be, and I've been married to my husband 14 years, he's more blunt than I am, right? But I realize that a lot of times it's not about what we want, it's about what we need, right? So when God sends you a man, that man is there to qualify you for the position that God has awaiting you, right? So my husband, my marriage, my journey with my husband has a lot to do with
me submitting myself to the purification process to become the woman that I believe that God has for me to become. And my husband is that, he's that sandpaper. He is that purification agent, right? So that's how I look at him. So what does that mean? He's going to look different than me in a lot of ways. In communication, he's not as soft. He's a man. He's going to be more blunt. So what I communicate to him is, you know what, sweetheart, what you said was so true, was so right. In the beginning, I didn't say that. I'm like, nigga, who you talking to? Because you got me messed up. Not addressing what he said, I was addressing how he said it. Then I grew in my level of spirituality, and I grew in my relationship with God to say, you know what? I love the truth so much that I don't care how it's said. I don't care who says it. I don't care where it's coming from. All I care is that it is represented, that it has been said. So with my husband, I use that same principle. First, I acknowledge the truth. Baby, you're absolutely right. I was absolutely wrong for that. Et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to work on that. And you know my track record. My word is my bond. If I say I'm going to improve on something, you see it in action, right? So I'm a keeper of my word. I'm a doer of my word. I express that. Then I follow that up with, because now I disarmed him. So now I follow that up with, sweetheart, in the future, it would be nice that when you express that to me, because I'm going to listen. I want to listen. You have so much wisdom, right? I want you to feel comfortable imparting that on me. I'm a willing student. I just would like in the future that you show me a little more grace in your tone, right? You're a little bit more patient with your temperament, right? Because these are qualities not of male and female. These are qualities of God. Because in chapter 13, Corinthians chapter 12, verse 1 through 12, it says love is patient, love is kind, love is long suffering, love records no wrong, right? So these are qualities of love. So I can't say I'm requiring of him conditionally. Oh, I'm not going to be kind to you. You ain't kind to me. So you yell at me, I'm going to yell back. You disrespect me, I'm going to disrespect you. Right? Because now I'm allowing that man to make me other than myself, other than a woman of God. You're not going to do that to me. I'm not going to give you that power. Now, what I will do through my example is show you how it's done, right? To show you that how the 3 Hebrew boys could be in the fiery furnace and kept cool. Okay, because that fire represents anger. It represents the fire of emotion. Right. So I can show you how none of your sticks and stones gonna break my bones. I can show you how your word don't matter unless I decide that it matters. Right. So I give my husband space to be imperfect. I give him space to grow, to learn. I don't mind being a teacher when it comes to being an example. That's never ending. Right. Healing is a journey. It's nothing none of us really have, right? Because to be healed means to be cured, and to be whole, that means to be perfect. And none of us are that, right? So it's a process. So I show him a lot of grace. So the only thing I require of him is what I require of myself, right? So if I'm out here smoking, drinking, cheating, and acting a fool, then I guess that's what we doing. But if I'm in the house and I'm faithful and I'm cooking and I'm this and I'm praying and I'm lifting him up, and that's what I require of him, right? I require him to be a man of God. I require him to talk to his Lord. I require him to get on that prayer rug. I require him to pay his charity. I require him to speak a kind word. That's what I require of him, right? And naturally, I'm going to be the beneficiary of him being a servant of God, naturally, right? And so I encourage that first. So his primary and priority is not to me, it's to his Lord. And that's what I encourage first. So if I see somehow he's being default in his duty to his God, then I kindly, through my example and a reminder, you know what, babe? I haven't prayed in a while, because I know his ass haven't. So I haven't prayed in a while. I'm going to go pray. I'm not telling him what to do, but I'm creating the environment. Because guess what? When you do that, you're going to agitate them demons. You're going to start casting out demons. and then before you know it, that man don't want you being better than him in his house. So now, before you know, he gonna be praying. Now he gonna be, baby, come on, you ain't prayed in a long time. Okay, come on, let's go pray. That's how it goes. And so that's what's been working for me. But for me, in short, I just require of him to be the best that he can be to his Lord. And I just realized that when I made or encouraged him to make me his focus, it was always disappointment. It was always dissatisfaction because I'm always going to disappoint. I'm imperfect. And when I made him my priority, he was always disappointing and always dissatisfying me. But when we became the secondary need, right, the secondary focus, and made God the primary, and truly mean that, because we talk a lot of this, but we don't mean it. It's like, he didn't text me today. Okay, maybe he was going through something. Like, men also go through things. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't send me good morning, or these things that we do. But it's because we are lacking in our relationship with God, where we need this constant validation, emotionally, spiritually, physically. You need constant validation. I was like that. I was 21 when I got married. I'm 34 with a 12-year-old. I grew, I evolved. He grew, he evolved. And I'm sure if a lot of you were to see my marriage at an open book, you're like, that's not a great marriage. She should have been left that nigga. Da, 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 da. But at the end of the day, that's why we don't put our faith and trust in man. We put our faith and trust in God, because my marriage, my life is a testimony, and it is a proven fact that God is real and his word is true. And whatever he promised us, he will give us. And his way works. Fatima way does not work. My husband way don't work. But God's way, we have found to work. Now we're in a happy, thriving marriage. I love my man. He upgraded my ring. I left the other one. Y'all see? My ring is, look, it's nice, y'all. It's nice. Okay. So yeah, I love my man.
I love that.
So here we are.
Yep. My man.
My man.
And you got so many like nuggets for us, single women. Once we, get our man, how we can make it last, 14, then on to 24, then 34 years, and beyond. So I love all of that. Sister Ruth, if you could wait, are all your daughters married now? Wait. Where is, I don't even know where everyone is, but if you were to
I have two single.
Okay. So, what do you want for your daughters in a man?
I have as Fatima spoke, because I could relate, to a lot of what she experienced, because when you dealing with, and it's not, my husband didn't fall from the sky, but the thing is that my husband was a God fearing man. He was a striving man to, become one with his Lord. And him striving is what showed me that if he has a relationship with his Lord, he gonna grow and have a right relationship with me. And like my daughter said, it's God first.
Mom, speak more into your
Then
phone because you sound far away. Sorry.
okay. Um, so I can relate, but it's I want all my daughters, to marry God fearing men, men that are accountable to God, that fear God, that fear the chastisement. Because when you fear his chastisement, when man fears their Lord, they fear their God, then they're not gonna mess over the woman. They're gonna do right by that woman according to the way of God. And so that's what I want for all my daughters, is to have a man that's a God fearing man, that he care about nothing but his relationship with his Lord, and the relationship that he has with his Lord, that's what's going to trickle down to his wife, his children, because see, God is a God of freedom, justice, and equality. So when you have a man that is like that, he's going to give you freedom. He's going to give you justice. He's going to give you equality. And it's going to trickle down to your children, you know? And so that's what I would desire for all my daughters, that they will have a man that loves God, fears God, and wants to be one with his Lord. So
I love that. I love that. That was awesome. So I'm gonna close us out. For me, I mean, all of you touched on great attributes that I would love to have in a husband. So I'll touch on things that maybe was not mentioned. Um, I want someone that's emotionally, mentally, and financially stable. So that there's not a dollar amount of money that you have to make to be financially stable. You just have to be able to take care of yourself at least. Mentally, like I fortunately have never had to be like in an abusive relationship or deal with someone that's mentally unstable, but I've seen it enough to know that's not what I want in a man. I need you to be mentally stable, emotionally, healed from well, maybe not healing from past traumas, relationships, whatever, on a path to healing. So that's what I mean about being emotionally, mentally, and financially stable. Someone that sees me, someone that accepts me for me, and not try to change me. Now of course in a relationship and as humans we want to grow and we will grow together, but I need you to accept me as I am, because I'm perfect in God's eyes and I'm working on the things that are imperfect. But I don't need you to change me. um and it's also it's important that I have a partner that I can build with. Like I don't want to be I'm not a housewife type of woman. I have too many gifts that God has given me, and I want to build with you. I want to build a legacy for our children. I want to be your partner. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to compete with you. I'm not trying to figure out who's gonna be the boss of the household. No, I want to be your partner. I want my man to be my best friend, someone that I can have fun with, someone that I can pray with, like travel with, do all the things that I love to do, and as well appreciate our time apart. And someone that's loyal. I think everything that we've named, I don't feel like anything is outrageous. I don't feel like any of this is, too much to ask for. I think that we,
maybe in one man, Sister LaDonna, I think
maybe
a
in
lot
one
to ask for. Have y'all looked outside?
but we ain't gonna share the same man. We ain't gonna share the same man. What I require is not
No, because I'm saying you might meet a man who might be a little bit more introverted because that's what you need. So you might have to be that person to expose him to travel, expose him to the fine. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
you're right.
being a little bit more open-minded in some of those I think like requirements, because that's the same for me. Like I'm super outgoing. I come from a big family. My husband comes from a broken home. I come from a 2-parent household. He comes from a broken home. He has no sisters. I have 6 sisters, 2 brothers. Totally different. I'm from the South. He's from the West Coast. He's come from gang banging. I come from zones. You know what I mean? Like totally different, even beyond religion. So many cultural differences. I had to be willing to compromise. Absolutely. I hated comedy movies in the beginning. And I know you said we're closing, but I just want to throw some realistic stuff out. You know what I mean? Like I hated comedy in the beginning. I'm a horror film person. My mom, like, something's wrong with you. Like, I don't know why you like that gory stuff. But I've always been like that. My husband never liked horror films or thrillers. It's always comedy. I'm like, this is not funny. Like, I don't want to watch it. You know what I mean? Right. They had to get to, we were arguing over what to watch. And it's like, you're so inconsiderate. We always watch you. Anything could be an argument when you don't have compromise,
Yeah.
And so I had to start compromising. And now it's like, literally, I'm telling you, it's so second nature to him. He'll pass me the remote if he know he's been watching it all day and I've been like cleaning or doing this or that. He's like, baby, whatever you want to watch. Like 14 years later, but we here. You know what I mean? We here.
I love it. And I am definitely open to someone that doesn't meet every single thing, and it's really going to be about like more so what I need and what God feels like I need, because I don't know, I'm learning this as I go, and every time I get something that I don't want, I add something else to the list. Okay, I mean
no, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
LaDonna, your next show should be when to say when, because I think
when.
You know what I mean? I think when people say relationships are hard, it's like, okay, but how hard should they be?
Exactly. Okay, so we're actually going to close out. Ladies, you hang on. I just want to say goodbye to you on the back end. But thanks everyone for joining us. This was a great conversation. I really, really, really appreciated everyone's input. We had some great conversation, and we're going to continue. I'm going to have y'all all back on, different topics, different things. And thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. It was a pleasure meeting you all.
Yes, and thanks everyone.
The pleasure was all mine.
Yes, and thanks everyone that was in the chat. We are coming back together on Thursday. I'm going to check everyone with their availability with the men. And so I'll see, who's all available, and we're gonna,
not Brother Stanley and Sister Ruth on the same chat. Oh my God! Oh, y'all know they better be.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
All right. Thanks, everyone. You all hang on. Good night.
Good night.
Okay.